Hey, what are you living for? Huh? I mean, you're always at home. What are you even doing?
What are you talking about? I'm the one who does everything around the house.
Where exactly? Ever since my husband was hospitalized, his child from a previous marriage has been treating me like a housemaid, and despite being a college student, spends all her time playing and hardly ever attends school. How on earth did she get the idea that I do nothing?
Just calm down, will you?
What? A lecture?
No, it's not like that.
The stepchild's face turned red, almost like a red demon. She has always had a tendency to immediately raise her voice and hysterically blame me at the slightest displeasure.
Huh? It's your fault Dad's in the hospital again, isn't it? Don't mess with me. Why would it be my fault? I heard it's because of overwork.
That's not true.
It is. It's your fault.
It's headache-inducing to be blamed in such a shrill voice without being listened to. To begin with, my husband's hospitalization is due to an illness he had before. Where did she get her misunderstanding? It seems futile to say anything right now.
Since we're at it, I've wanted to say this for a while. You married Dad for his money, didn't you?
That's not true.
Just because you're somewhat attractive, you seduced Dad for his money, you shameless woman.
The stepchild's tirade was unstoppable, and it seemed she might resort to physical violence at any moment. She also fails to grasp the most crucial point. I'm the one paying for her tuition, bills, even the rent for the house we live in. Have anything to say?
Well, yeah.
And then, she said something she shouldn't have.
Like father, like son, huh? Having such a person as my sibling is the worst. He doesn't even show his face at home. Maybe he's dead for all I know?
We remarried, each having children from previous relationships. I couldn't stay silent when my son was insulted like that. There are things that are okay to say and things that are not. I felt something snap inside me. I intended to keep things peaceful for my husband's sake, but it seemed impossible.
You've said something you shouldn't have.
Huh?
What's that supposed to mean, creepy? What are you gonna do about it, you useless old woman?
I see. I thought a thorough punishment was necessary. Not something half-hearted. It's necessary to ensure she never defies me again.
Not I see it all.
That's when I stopped all the payments. This included the cost of my husband's surgery. As a result, the stepchild would lose everything. I'm Linda Taylor, turning 47 this year. Last year, I remarried with Mike. However, both of us had children from our previous marriages. Mike has a daughter, Emily, who's a student in college, and I have a son, Ethan, who's graduating from college next year. I found myself reminiscing about how I met Mike. Meeting Mike was purely coincidental. Honestly, I never thought I'd remarry at this age. Currently, I import and sell items online. That alone was enough for the business to thrive, but I strongly felt I wanted customers to physically handle the products. That's when I took notice of the variety store managed by Mike. Excuse me. Yes? Can I help you? Actually, I am a business owner. I said so, handing over my business card.
Oh, you're the owner.
Sorry for being so sudden. Because it was such a charming shop, I thought I'd like to have the goods I sourced from here. Mike seemed to be looking for some change as well, and luckily, we ended up signing a contract right there. After that, things went smoothly, and the products started selling quickly. As if in tandem, our relationship also progressed, and within a year of meeting, we were discussing marriage.
I'm really happy, but I'm not getting any younger. I feel the same way. And I haven't mentioned it until now, but I have a son who's graduating from college next year, you know? I have a daughter about the same age, so it's pretty much the same situation.
On delving deeper, it turned out Mike's previous wife had passed away. Hearing such a story made it hard for me to feel indifferent. I formally accepted Mike's proposal, and we decided to remarry. However, it wasn't without its issues.
This is a bit hard to say, but could you not tell my daughter about your work? I'll do so if that's what you want. Is there any reason? Well, you'll understand once you meet her. Okay, I got it.
This led to my first meeting with Mike's daughter, Emily. Nice to meet you. I'm Linda Taylor. Mike and I. Before I could finish, Emily cut in. No need for introductions. Just don't cause me any trouble.
Hey. That's no way to speak.
Then Emily apologized to me. However, it seemed she really disliked the idea, retreating to her room.
Are you sure this is okay? It's fine. You remember what we talked about before, right? The thing about work? Yeah. Well, it's like she has a lot of pride, I guess.
I quickly realized.
She must really like you, Mike. Do you think so? What else? Maybe she felt like she was losing you. Emily is not a little kid anymore. She should understand that.
I hope so. Eventually, we got married. Though our first meeting was the worst, once we started living together, Emily began to show consideration. I thought we could finally feel secure. In fact, during a simple family dinner, no particular problems arose. This marked the beginning of our life as a family of 4. What should I call you?
Whatever you're comfortable with is fine.
Then, can I call you Linda? Mom still feels a bit awkward.
If that's what you prefer.
And just call me Emily. Though there were moments of hesitation, Emily started to engage more actively. Having once wished for a daughter, this made me incredibly happy. However, there was one person who viewed our relationship with skepticism. That was Ethan.
Mom, can we talk? What's up?
It's about Emily. Ethan suddenly lowered his voice. You might want to be cautious.
Cautious about what?
I can't say specifically, but honestly, it's hard to know what she's thinking.
Do you think so? I've given my warning, okay? Okay.
Ethan has always been observant from a young age. He is able to intuitively spot troublesome people. I once dated someone who turned out to be a habitual debtor. And it was Ethan who advised me to break it off. Of course, I understood what he was saying, but we had only been living together for about 2 months. So I tried not to think too deeply about it. But as the new year dawned, Ethan's graduation from college was just around the corner.
By the way, have you figured out where you're gonna live?
Pretty much decided. Found some affordable places near the company.
Really? Have you told your dad yet?
Yeah, I've talked to him. Planning to move around mid-March. Ethan always takes care of everything himself, without needing me to say anything. So I wasn't too worried. My main concern was Emily. I couldn't help but sigh when comparing her to Ethan.
You're thinking about Emily, aren't you? Yeah. Well, yeah. Hasn't she come back yet? Now that you mention it, she hasn't. Really have no clue what she's thinking.
Emily returned after midnight. I'm home.
Where have you been? You didn't answer your phone. Dad was worried too.
Doesn't matter where I was. Mike tried to stop Emily as she headed to her room.
Wait. First, why are you so late?
Just hung out with friends and got back late.
You should at least let us know. If this keeps happening, we'll have to set a curfew.
Huh? Why?
Well, it makes sense.
Now, Emily even started being snarky to Ethan. They were never close, but it had gotten worse recently. However, I didn't yet realize that this was merely the prelude to what was coming. That night ended unsatisfactorily with Emily locking herself in her room. Soon after, the day came for Ethan to move out for his independent life.
Mom, you okay? Just feeling a bit lonely, I guess. I'm not a kid anymore. I know, but still.
I was widowed by my previous husband. He died in a tragic accident. It was when Ethan was still in elementary school. Since then, I've raised him on my own. Thanks to that, I am now running my own business.
Are you leaving already?
Yeah. It was a short time, but I had fun. Take care of Mom for me.
Leave it to me. Come back anytime.
Will do. It was a touching moment, but Emily was the one to dampen the mood.
Emily, don't you want to say anything?
Not really anything to say. She kept fiddling with her smartphone, not looking up. Ethan seemed exasperated.
Well, all I can say is, don't trouble Mom and Dad.
Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
Just do your best, okay?
I know. Bye then. With that, Ethan left. Soon after, Emily went out too.
Where are you going?
Out with friends.
When will you be back?
Why do I have to tell you that?
Don't be late.
I know, see you. Mike and I exchanged glances. Life from there on was neither particularly good nor bad. Emily was with the job hunting season approaching, but she showed no signs of starting. Concerned, I talked to Mike about it.
Indeed, she's been out playing around a lot lately. I think we need to have a serious talk.
Yeah. That night, we set up a meeting to discuss the situation. That's when a shocking truth came to light. Emily had failed to earn enough credits and was facing a definite year of delay. It seemed she had given up and resorted to hanging out as a way to cope.
Why didn't you tell us something so important? Even if we concede that failing a year can happen, hiding it is the problem. Tuition isn't free, you know.
Mike's lecture continued. Emily, not expecting to be reprimanded to this extent, was completely disheartened.
Won't you say something?
Pressured too much, tears welled up in Emily's eyes.
Let's just assume she's already reflecting on it.
I tried to offer some support, thinking of Emily, but then. Linda, stay out of this.
What? Hey! She was considering your situation when she said that. That's not fair.
Emily looked down and fell silent. For now, we're setting a curfew.
What? It seems like you're not reflecting, so this is a decided matter.
There was nothing Emily could do about it. Despite her rebellious attitude, she couldn't go against Mike's decision. From then on, she became utterly uncontrollable. She ignored everything I said. She would act nice when Mike was around, but when it was just the two of us, she completely ignored me. Concurrently, something unusual was happening to Mike as well. In fact, the signs had been there for a while. One day, when Mike returned from work, his face was pale, and he clearly looked ill. Soon after, he became immobile, and I had to call an ambulance.
Hello, Emily? Your dad's collapsed, so you need to come to the hospital right away.
What? What do you mean?
I'll explain later.
Though he received treatment, Mike's condition seemed quite serious. As a result, he was hospitalized. Why did this happen to Dad?
He might need major surgery. Then you should take his place. What's gotten into you all of a sudden?
Emily raised her voice and lashed out at me. The sudden change in her demeanor left me flustered. Afterwards, she stormed out of the hospital. I couldn't organize my thoughts about what had just happened. I really wanted to talk more about Mike. But that was now impossible. I couldn't understand why I was being criticized to this extent. The reason Mike was hospitalized was because he had cancer in his liver. The situation didn't seem good, but it appeared manageable with surgery.
I can't believe this.
After returning home, I shared with her the reality of what was happening to Mike.
Even if you can't believe it, this is the truth. I'm not saying this without any basis. No matter the reason, this is all your fault, isn't it?
No matter how carefully I explained, it fell on deaf ears. I was truly at my wits' end. Now, we would have to live together, just the two of us. Moreover, with Mike unable to work due to his hospitalization, I had to cover both the hospital bills and our daily living expenses. I decided to consult Ethan about it first.
I got the gist of it.
But what should we do? We've never lived with just the two of us before.
Right. For now, I'll also talk to Dad, okay?
That's probably best.
I'll tell Dad to try not to burden you too much. Okay. Thanks for handling that.
Life with Emily was proving to be full of challenges. I couldn't have managed alone. Ethan being there truly helped. But, is everything really going to be okay? As had always been the case, Emily did not help with any household chores. Despite my resolve to work twice as hard now that Mike was hospitalized, she ignored this and continued to make demands. I felt like I was practically a maid. She complained without lifting a finger to help.
I'm not hungry today, so I don't need dinner. You could have told me earlier.
I tried to keep my irritation in check. But Emily seemed to provoke me knowingly.
Besides, it looks unappetizing. Has it always been like this?
That was not the case. She has always been picky with her food, a finicky eater from the start. It had only worsened since it became just the two of us. She would get angry if the ingredients were not bought from the specific supermarket she liked.
I bought everything you asked for. I don't want to deal with this hassle either. But Dad. What?
I thought she said something in a voice so soft I could barely hear.
What did you say?
It's nothing. Normally, she would have continued to complain, but she seemed perplexed for some reason. Then, I received a call from Ethan.
Are you okay right now? I guess so. We might have been mistaken about something. What are you talking about? I'm not sure yet. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it seems we might have been deceived. Really? Just make sure not to tell anyone about this conversation. Let's keep it between us for now. All right.
Deceived, but by whom? I wondered if Ethan was talking about Emily, but that didn't seem right. It felt more like she just didn't like me for some reason. I couldn't grasp what Ethan meant, but I had to focus on the immediate issues at hand. Emily's situation was overwhelming. 2 days after Ethan's call, I received a message from the hospital asking me to come in the morning. So I headed straight to Mike's room.
What could it be about? Probably about the surgery, I think. I see. And how are you feeling now? Much better. That's good to hear. So did Ethan say anything? Ethan?
That reminded me of the call from Ethan.
No, he didn't say anything special. I see. Is there something you're worried about? Not really, but...
It felt like he was being unusually cautious, almost fearful. Then, the surgery was scheduled for 2 weeks later.
I guess I will cause trouble to you again. You don't need to worry about that. Just focus on yourself right now. Thanks. That really helps.
I hoped that the surgery would improve his condition. When I told Emily about the surgery that night.
I see. Got it.
She then went straight to her room. I had expected more of a reaction, but she was surprisingly subdued. She used to hurl harsh words at me almost daily, but suddenly, it all stopped. It would be great if this led to peace. But that only lasted until the surgery was over. On the day of the surgery, Emily and I went to the hospital room together. It was the first time we had come to the hospital, just the two of us, since Mike had been hospitalized.
I'm glad the surgery went well.
Yeah. Emily seemed relieved too. Mike woke up and we were able to talk a bit. However, I had to leave the room because of a phone call, leaving Emily behind. When I returned to the hospital room, I heard Mike's voice sounding angry at Emily. Despite the surgery just having been completed, I worried that excitement might be bad for him, so I opened the door.
Is everything okay? Yeah, it's fine. Just checking if she's been going to school properly, right?
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case.
But would that conversation have made Emily look almost like she was going to cry? I wondered if they were actually talking about something else. However, I couldn't ask under the circumstances.
Anyway, you just had surgery today, so make sure to rest. Yeah, I will. Emily, don't forget what we talked about earlier.
Emily silently nodded. It was on the way back home. I dared to ask about their hospital conversation.
What were you talking about at the hospital? I don't need to tell you that. You don't have to be like that.
I was trying to improve my relationship with Emily, but it seemed not to be going well. and why Emily was so hostile towards me became increasingly clear. And at the same time, it ignited a flame of vengeance within me. Ultimately, my relationship with Emily remained unchanged. In fact, her hostility towards me seemed to become even more blatant than before. This change occurred after Mike's surgery was successfully completed. 3 months later, Mike was able to be discharged from the hospital. The doctor was amazed at his recovery.
I didn't expect you to be discharged this soon.
I'm surprised by my own body too.
You'll still need to take it easy for a while. I know, but I'm worried about the shop. I've been so preoccupied with my own issues, so I haven't been able to help with that. Should I help you?
No, that's okay. I'll handle it.
But
really, it's fine. Leave it to me.
If you insist.
I thought it was odd how he was so insistent on doing everything by himself. I hoped that Emily would calm down and things would become a bit more peaceful with Mike's return home, but that was not the case at all. Less than a month later, his condition worsened, leading to another hospitalization. Perhaps he had overexerted himself before fully recovering. The primary issue, however, was that his liver, which had been operated on, wasn't in good condition. And then, it was the night he was readmitted.
Hey, what are you living for?
Huh?
I mean, you're always at home. What are you even doing?
What are you talking about? I'm the one who does everything around the house.
Where exactly?
No matter what I say, she doesn't listen at all. What does she really want?
Just calm down, will you?
What? A lecture?
No, it's not like that.
Emily's face turned red, almost like a red demon. She had raised her voice and blamed me hysterically before, but this was beyond comparison.
Huh? It's your fault Dad's in the hospital again, isn't it?
Don't mess with me.
Why would it be my fault?
I heard it was because of overwork.
That's not true.
It is. It's your fault.
The reason he's hospitalized is because of a worsening liver condition.
It's headache-inducing to be blamed in such a shrill voice without being listened to. The true cause of his hospitalization was a pre-existing chronic illness. Where did she get her misunderstanding? It seemed like nothing I could say would be accepted.
I've wanted to say this for a while now, but you married Dad for his money, didn't you?
That's ridiculous.
Just because you're somewhat attractive, you seduced Dad for his money, you shameless woman.
Emily's tirade was unstoppable, and it seemed she might become physically aggressive at any moment. She was missing the most crucial point. I was the one paying for Emily's college tuition, phone bills, even the rent for the house we live in. Have anything to say?
Well, yeah.
And then Emily said something she shouldn't have.
Like father, like son, huh? Having someone like that for my brother is the worst. Ethan doesn't even show his face at home. Maybe he's dead for all I know.
We remarried, each having children from previous relationships. I couldn't stay silent when Ethan was insulted like that. There are things that are okay to say and things that are not. I felt something snap inside me. I intended to keep things peaceful for Mike's sake, but it seemed impossible now.
You've said something you shouldn't have.
Huh?
What's that supposed to mean, creepy? What are you gonna do about it, you useless old woman?
I see. I thought a thorough punishment was necessary. Not something half-hearted. It's necessary to ensure she never defies me again.
Not I see at all.
That's when I decided to stop all payments. This included the cost of my husband's second surgery. As a result, the stepchild would lose everything.
Or maybe you should just leave. I'd be happier that way. Maybe I will. But then, you'd have to manage your living expenses yourself. Wait a minute. It's too late for that. You asked for this.
I took only my smartphone and wallet and left the house. First thing, I decided to call Ethan.
Mom? Good timing. Huh? Can we meet in person? It will be faster to talk that way. That's fine. Actually, I've just left the house. I've reached my limit with Emily. I see. But that might be a wise decision. How about the cafe near the station? Okay. I'll be there soon.
Ethan and I agreed to meet. This cafe was a place full of memories where we used to come before the remarriage. Arriving first, I ordered the usual coffee and spent some time trying to forget everything that had happened.
Sorry, I'm late. It's okay. I had a chance to relax for a bit. So, what's the talk about? Well, listen carefully. First, take a look at this.
Ethan showed me his smartphone. It displayed Mike's shop. And the shop was closed due to his hospitalization.
What about it?
Yeah, you might not understand like this. Let me zoom in. Zooming in, there was a notice in the center of the shutter. Seeing it felt like my heart was being gripped.
This means,
as you can see, it's been put up for sale.
When?
About 3 weeks ago, I guess. That was around the time Mike was hospitalized for the second time.
But I don't understand why he would do something like this.
I can't say for sure either. But there's more, and this might be even more important.
What is it?
Now, listen to this.
A recording?
Ethan played the recording. There was static, and although the voice was intermittent, it was definitely audible. Listen carefully. You need to be disliked even more, or it's pointless. Got it?
That's Dad's voice, isn't it?
Yes.
I was concerned, so when I went to the hospital, I heard it and recorded it. The you he's referring to is Emily, right? What's going on? I'm not sure, but you left the house, right? Maybe it's time to take some kind of action? So, you're saying to just watch how things unfold? That would be best.
I thought about it. What if all of Emily's harsh words towards me were under Mike's instruction? I felt chills all over my body. This must have been what Ethan meant when he said we might have been deceived. But I was dying to know how he found out about it.
Can I ask something? Of course. You mentioned before that we might be deceived, but how did you know? When I went for a get-well visit, I overheard a conversation between Dad and Emily. It sounded suspicious to me.
I can't believe something like that happened.
It was after you mentioned having trouble with Emily. Looking back, I think that's when you must have been giving her some sort of instructions.
After that, I decided to stay in a nearby hotel to wait and see what actions Mike and Emily would take. Within a week, there was movement.
Hello?
What's going on?
I heard you left the house because of Emily. Her verbal abuse was too much, and I just couldn't tolerate it anymore. So, I stopped paying for things like rent and tuition. Isn't that a bit excessive?
Is it?
Seems normal to me. Oh, and I decided to leave your surgery fees for Emily to handle. What?
I couldn't bring myself to talk about the store or what Ethan had told me at that moment.
Can't we just talk a bit more calmly about this? I guess, but Emily has to come too. I'll make sure to contact Emily myself.
So, we decided to have another discussion. 3 days after the call, I went to the hospital with Ethan.
This should clear everything up. Like a final showdown, maybe.
Could be. When we entered Mike's room, Emily was already there.
Ethan's here too?
Yeah. So, what's this about?
I've given Emily a stern warning, so I hope you can forgive her this time. You've reflected enough, right?
Emily didn't respond.
Are you really sorry?
What do you say? I asked Emily, but she kept looking down. I have a question too.
The shop is up for sale, right? You knew.
Why?
Well, that's because,
according to Mike, the decision to sell was due to a decrease in sales. However, the shop had been fairly profitable before his hospitalization.
That doesn't make sense.
Sales were not bad. What's the real reason? Mike fell silent. That's when I played the recording Ethan had made.
Let me help you to say it.
Huh? Mike's voice filled the room.
There's no point in hiding it anymore. Maybe it's better to tell everything, isn't it?
Mike seemed ready to give up.
The truth is, marrying Linda was all about the money. I never expected someone to take an interest in a shop that could go under at any time. I wasn't aware of that. Of course, I never told anyone. Even if that was the case, the sales were good, right?
There's a trick to that. What Mike then revealed was shocking. Mike had been buying products himself to inflate sales figures.
Why would you do that?
To gain your trust.
You didn't have to do that. But why involve Emily?
To divert suspicion and garner sympathy for my surgery. I was really strapped for cash when I met you, Linda.
So, you used Emily. How much did you know, Emily?
I knew nothing.
I just did as Dad told me.
But that seemed excessive. In fact, Emily, trying to adhere strictly to what Mike told her, ended up going too far. Given she was acting on instructions, it's understandable she might become hysterical, absorbing all my directed hate. Mike also scolded her to fully play the villain. However, that didn't mean I was ready to forgive everything.
But why sell the shop? Maybe as collateral for a loan.
Exactly. I was at a loss for words. A simple consultation could have avoided all these roundabout measures.
Now we see who the real villain is.
Indeed.
What?
He was a man who hid his true nature even from his own daughter, driven by twisted motives to act recklessly.
Sadly, I can no longer live with you guys. Wait. At least let's talk.
We've talked enough.
From now on, you're on your own.
Surgery costs, tuition, rent, everything. It was when Ethan and I were about to leave the hospital room. Emily started complaining to Mike in a shrill voice. Ethan and I exchanged looks.
Who do you think caused all this? I did everything you told me to. This is absurd. It's because you went too far. If you had just followed my instructions. Huh? I did what you told me, and this happened.
A distressing parent-child argument unfolded.
Maybe take this argument somewhere else? This is a hospital, after all. It's disturbing. You be quiet. This is partly your fault.
I sighed deeply.
I was willing to forgive if you had a
Hey, what are you living for?
Huh? I mean, you're always at home. What are you even doing? What are you talking about? I'm the one who does everything around the house.
Where exactly? Ever since my husband was hospitalized, his child from a previous marriage has been treating me like a housemaid, and despite being a college student, spends all her time playing and hardly ever attends school. How on earth did she get the idea that I do nothing?
Just calm down, will you?
What?
A lecture? No, it's not like that.
The stepchild's face turned red, almost like a red demon. She has always had a tendency to immediately raise her voice and hysterically blame me at the slightest displeasure.
Huh? It's your fault Dad's in the hospital again, isn't it? Don't mess with me. Why would it be my fault? I heard it's because of overwork.
That's not true.
It is. It's your fault.
It's headache-inducing to be blamed in such a shrill voice without being listened to. To begin with, my husband's hospitalization is due to an illness he had before. Where did she get her misunderstanding? It seems futile to say anything right now.
Since we're at it, I've wanted to say this for a while. You married Dad for his money, didn't you?
That's not true.
Just because you're somewhat attractive, you seduced Dad for his money, you shameless woman.
The stepchild's tirade was unstoppable, and it seemed she might resort to physical violence at any moment. She also fails to grasp the most crucial point. I'm the one paying for her tuition, bills, even the rent for the house we live in.
Have anything to say?
Well, yeah,